Now we move to Q&A, which will be hosted by Dr. Ting Dai.
Thank you. Let's open the floor for questions. So when you ask your question, please say your name, organization, and state your question briefly. Okay. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Come on. Okay. Larry.
Yeah, my name is Larry Shinagawa with New Asian Leaders, and my question is this. A lot of the Asian American community organizations that have been long-standing have not completely gone on board with this effort. And this is something that we really need to unify in many ways. And so my question to you as a team is, how do we get those folks to come together with you in terms of trying to make sure that we have a united front as much as possible?
Okay. So Yukong, you want to answer this question?
Unfortunately, I noticed that. And we also, in December, we reached out to Asia Pacific American Law Bar Association. What we found out is, number one, many Asian American associations who supported the race-based college admission, they don't really understand the severity, the widespread discrimination against our children. When Li Chang and I and Jack, we talked with them, presented the facts, they were shocked. So many Asian American organizations, they somewhat lack of good understanding what's the fact out there, and they somewhat may be misled. And so that is, we want to enhance education, let them know what's the fact, number one. And number two is, I also want to challenge them. If you say you're Asian American organization, care about civil rights, why don't you care about your children's rights? So I welcome, we are going to make efforts, reach out to them, but I also want to challenge them to really, make the right step into the right direction. Thank you.
Okay. Xingyan have something to add on.
I want to thank the audience for coming today. And thank you for Larry for raising that question. The AAC is just some of us, but we need to depend on a lot of the volunteers and those families in particular who have children or who have younger siblings who will face this dilemma about how to face the real world when they join the college and later on in their career. So we need all of us to speak up, to tell your representatives to engage in community affairs so that we can have a national conversation. Yes, this is one event, but we need to have an ongoing dialogue. So hopefully more people will join us. Thank you.
More questions? Okay, while you're thinking. Oh, okay, go ahead. The ladies on the back.
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't represent any organization. I'm just a parent. I know AACE, you have a lot of data. I saw the curves in the agenda there. I am one of the data points. My son was one of the data points, but I am here live. Okay, just to say a few words of my experience. Okay, my son graduated from high school 4 years ago, and in his 800 student class, he ranked number 3. And he's by every measure, not only a full SAT, by every measure, he is the student that everyone's dream of. And in the local community, he's very famous. Everyone knows Michael. Everyone knows Michael and very famous. And then his classmate ranked much lower than him, got into Brown University and Yale. And he applied to Brown and Yale, and both rejected him. And he went to Duke. Last week I attended his graduation ceremony. But he's doing great. I'm just saying that the college admission, is a huge blow for him. He lost social justice for this country. We are Americans. be emotional. I should be happy. Okay, my son graduated from Duke and he's doing great. And he's such a wonderful young man. But he lost trust to the society, to justice to the society. And I talked to him yesterday. I read from the whole article about this press release because I drove him back to, he started his first day of work. And he said, Mom, it is the way it is. Basically, he learned just to be submissive, okay, just to accept the injustice. And he said, Mom, it is what it is. But I appreciate your fight. So I thank you, the board members of the Asian American Coalition for Education, and we support your fight. We will be all the way. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Your case is very moving and make us feel very, pain. Okay. And I know the Ivy legal colleges, their practice hurt so many people and put so many pressures on our students. Okay. That caused a lot of damages. And maybe Chunye want to say a few things how Ivy legal's practice have a severe damage on Asian students in their mental health.
Thank you for your heartfelt speech. It was just not a speech, but it was just a sharing as a mom. And I, as a mom and also an educator, my sons have set up communication clubs between the parents and the younger generation. So I've observed firsthand what you've experienced. Some of the kids, they already lowered their expectation because they know if they're not up there, as Dr. Kothari was saying, if you're not top 4, or even if you are top 4, don't even dream about it. So this is ultimately about the loss of the American dream in their young minds. In our schools, we see in New Jersey, in Florida, West Coast or East Coast, you name it. So how do we expect them to grow up and still have a trust in the system? Number one, I tell my kids not everything is fair, but number two, you have to stand up. But number three is what Jen is doing. We need to speak up. We need to tell the press how hurtful this is. This is not a shame, and we need to not be intimidated by this feeling of, oh, you are just tiger moms, you are just pushing for Ivy Leagues. This is totally not the case. We just want an equal opportunity, not just equal result. As for the emotional feelings, I had students who were telling me during the early admissions process, they said they really blame the racial preference. They know what shoes they are in. And I remember Swan had a talk with the press last year. She said, well, her sons are Americans. Why do they have to work this hard? Right? So there are so many facets of the emotional side, the legal side, but we need to press the media, we need to press the national dialogue. So I really, really value all the parents or even the youngsters who are here. I hope that more students will come front and tell us I have been in conversation with these parents nonstop. They tell me individual questions, individual concerns, but we need to collectively raise the voice. Thank you.
Okay, please.
I felt like crying listening to you, actually. And I tell you, I have been pained and cried like this before, deep inside, many times. This is not the only problem that we have. The issue of student and getting into the schools and all that. We are facing this type of problem in many other fronts also. We need to unite. We need to say these things. It's just not going to happen otherwise. And I will tell you what what happened once is that when I was talking about this acting thing and other things, that I asked somebody, why don't you include Asian Americans and other people in there? And he told me, because you guys don't protest. Now, I don't want to protest. I don't want to go and march in the streets or anything like that. I would just hope that some cerebral reasoning like this and others would be enough to make a case for us. But we need to make a case altogether, and I hope we do, continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do feel a pain. Also, my daughter had the same situation. Okay, thank you. Mike?
My name is Mike. You can call me Coach Mike because I'm coaching the youth for public speaking. And also I'm a parent for two sons, 9 and 11. I appreciate the courage and vision AAC have to heads up, speak up, and stand up. It's very timely. I think I echo what Dr. AJ mentioned. This is prevalent. So it's not only for top tier school, it's also from medical school, law school, even in corporate America. This thing is widespread. So I call it just the start. It's just first wave. So my question is, from our board members, what's our long-term vision? The fight is not over. We just started. So what are the actions in the pipeline will give us an update?
Okay, you can want to address this.
Thank you. I think, as I mentioned earlier, last year, we had a great beginning, 64 organizations. After largely silent for 20 years, Asian American finally spoken. That is the first step. Second step, we come here, we just want to say, we'll continue this fight. And we'll be, until the Ivy League schools really stop their discrimination. We have a few things we want to pursue. Number one, we will push through the investigation. Number two, we encourage discriminated against Asian American students to file individual complaint. Number three, we already filed an amicus brief to the U.S. Supreme Court. We urge the U.S. Supreme Court to issue a total ban of racial discrimination in the college admissions. And also, we're going to continue to have dialogue in the news media, in the also with Ivy League schools, and we want to really challenge them. Do you have any guideline to limiting this kind of discriminations? If not, we help them to put together some guidelines. And also, we want to engage more communities and parents. So I think, I'm very proud to say, with so much support from the Asian American communities, just 1 year, we double our alliance. So we will continue our fight. We're not going to give up. Last year, when the OCR rejected our complaints, I made a statement and said, we're not giving up. We went ahead, registered AACE, Asian American Coalition for Education. So we'll continue our fight. Thanks, Mike.
Question? Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Zhao and also some other members here. As Mr. Zhao said, you have some conversation or dialogue with government, with schools. Can you give us some examples?
What I was said, we tried to open this dialogue, and like last year, we had a conversation with a few congresswomen, congressmen, and they issued the support. For example, Ed Ross took the lead, and 7 of Congress Republican members signed, and also a couple of months later, and the Asian American Congressional Caucus also issued a letter urging Harvard and have transparency and provide some support, and that is just start. And we call right now, we call the government, U.S. government, and also we also would like to have a conversation with them. today I ask specifically, we need oversight committee because they lost our trust. We need oversight committee, and we want to have engagement. One thing I want to point out, after the Supreme Court ruled on the Fisher case, first Fisher case, the U.S. Education Department issued a guideline says, with this ruling, you can find a number of ways to promote diversity. But there's no any guidelines to say how you protect Asian American or other, other racial groups, the children's constitutional rights. There's no guideline on that. So we want to have a guideline, So I think we'll start this process. Thank you.
Okay, I also received a question from the WeChat. Maybe that question for Jack to answer. As a lot of parents in WeChat, they say that Asian population in the United States is slightly less than 6%, and in Ivy legal universities, they already have 15 or 20 or 22%. Why you still claim being discriminated, Jack?
Thank you, Tim. So, some parents discuss, hey, are you guys overrepresented in the colleges? I want to say, our purpose for the complaint is just to ask the colleges, Yale, Dartmouth, or to ask the Department of Justice and Department for Education to investigate if these colleges follow the law, because we all know based on Supreme Court ruling, using racial quotas is against the law, is against the Supreme Court ruling. So when you say when you connect, you cannot put a number or percentage for any racial group to a specific number. Even 5%, 10%, that's against the law already. So we're not asking for us, we're asking for the equal opportunities, asking the college to abide by the law. That's it. We're not saying, hey, whatever number is there, whatever number you connect to, that's not right. Okay, thanks.
Maybe I want to add a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows our STEM education in this nation is terrible. We ranked about 30 in the math and 25 in science. This nation needs a lot of engineers and talented AJ. When we come here, we bring a good value about education, and also Asian, in terms of Asia, representing about 60% of the population. A lot of talented people immigrant to this nation. So just compare 15% with 6% Asian population here is not right. Asian American population is right. And also, very importantly, Dr. Ouyang mentioned very clearly, whether or not is a ratio does not matter. What is underrepresented or overrepresented? It's whether or not you follow the law, whether or not you have a ratio quota, whether or not you have used just for Asian high standard, whether or not you use racial stereotype, that matters. So that's the basis of our complaint. Thanks.
Sam, please.
My name is Sam Yang, come from 8020 DC chapter. We are co-signing the campaign. I try to make help answer the question. Actually, the number of applicants to the level leading Asian population is not 6%, 5%. Actually, it's over 50%. I would say that. Okay. So you counting on this number, the discrimination is obvious. Okay. So my another question give you the panel is. The campaign from last year to this year, we felt coming against many of the private schools. I know, remember, you also against the North Carolina, which is the public school. What any response from them so far?
No, actually, North Carolina was a lawsuit filed by students for fair admission. We are not involved. And so, like, student for fair admission filed 2 lawsuits, one against Harvard, one another against for the North Carolina. What we involved is last year's complaint against Harvard University, and I want to point out, I already said it was rejected by a procedural reason by education, Department of Education, but the Department of Justice, it's been 1 year. They still study the 40-page documents. They have not given us an answer yet.
What about the public school in general? Do you guys have any? Because I have experience. My son was rejected by UVA, for example. He's always top student. The situation there. Any consideration so far?
We want to do step by step. For example, at this moment, OCR have not really built the trust of Asian American communities. If we file complaint against everybody, they find some reason, which is not justifiable reason, to reject us. That may not be a good idea. So we want to do it one by one and file, gather the data. And we'll try to target the most compelling case step by step. It take, think about it, civil rights movement took, 20 years or so, decades. This, we cannot really achieve in just 1 or 2 years. So we need a consistent support from Asian American community and also American community.
As for public universities, I believe the public universities are under state law too. Congressman Ed Royce brought up the California Proposition 209. Michigan has passed similar laws. There are 8 states, as far as I know, 8 states have banned their public colleges the use of race in admissions. So it's up to us. If we bring up to the notice of legislatures in each state, maybe we can turn the tide, but it's a long shot.
Let's continue the discussion a little bit, just 2 minutes. 8020 DC chapter actually filed a request to request data from UVA. As you can imagine, UVA, of course, delayed the request or give you a favorable answer. That's caused the difficulty of getting the data. We know that's not true. Okay, even I can go to the database and just grab data in 1 day. They wouldn't do it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We need a local organization to stand up and file complaints against the local public colleges if there's any discriminatory practices. So we'll continue fight on. Also, today we have a lot of outstanding guests in this room. Hi, Happy. Happy is the chairman of honorary chairman of the National Chinese Community. And Happy, you want to say a few things about how we're going to, as Asian American community, how we're going to take care of the other disadvantaged communities?
Well, just quickly, I don't want to take up too much from your topic, which is, I guess, related. There are a lot of us in the Chinese community, we have been thinking, what can we do to contribute back to this society and give more, since we have been such a beneficiary of this great country. So I can give you an example that in our group, United Chinese Americans, we have a few chapters around the country. And we just had a fantastic campaign in Chicago, had a coalition, kind of a rainbow coalition of different community. We elected the first Asian American, Chinese American state legislator in Illinois history, whole history. There's 1 million Asian Americans in Illinois, and there's not one single representing their interest in a democracy. And that doesn't quite look like the democracy we're living in. And the moment we finished that campaign, many of our members in Chicago and now in Philadelphia branched out to the community to see what they can do to help the community. And very soon they found out that they want to ask the Asian kids and any other kids, and there's a few other non-Asian kids who are very good in STEM, science, technology, and math and engineering, to help other disadvantaged kids or any other kids who are less performing
so they started that tutoring program just mostly from our center. We imagine very soon it will be expanded out to all our kids. And then now they get in the second project in Chicago, helping the Marine recruit. They all have to pass certain exams for high school level math and English reading. They are right now, every week, helping those young Marine recruits to kind of learn or relearn their math skill and English language skill so that they can pass. So these are the things I think we can, as the Asian American community, do more, and we will do more, and to make this a more perfect union. Thank you.
Thank you, Happy.
Maybe I want to add one.
Okay.
You know, my children, I think every Chinese American family's children, one way or another, all involved tutoring to help other racial groups. That's a fact. I'm very glad, like Haipei, make it systematically, and that is a great improvement. And also, I said, we care about Asian American communities. 3 years ago, when I published my book, I introduced Confucian value, which emphasizes education. I personally wrote to Urban League, which is a charity supporting African American organization. I contacted CTE because we believe to help disadvantaged communities, you not only give them like the resources and also like education reform, you also help instill a lot of proven like parenting or experience. So that is really help from different front. You know, I want to say we love this country. We want, you know, bring up the education for all racial groups. We don't want to see the zero-sum game, but we want a fair rule applied to everybody. And we jointly help the poor. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? If not, let's conclude the Q&A session. I'll turn the podium to Swan.
Thank you. That was a marvelous Q&A. Thanks to everybody, to the question posers, and also to the audience, to the answers. Last year, we had 64 organizations who filed the complaint against Harvard, and this year it's more than 130. It's gathering momentum, but it's not always easy. Here, we would like to thank all the people and organizations who made these complaints possible. We acknowledge community leaders who reached out to their constituents, general supporters who contributed financially and intellectually, and volunteers who worked tirelessly on various events and activities. When we speak up, we give courage to silent sufferers. We let them see the reality is changeable, and justice and equality are possible. So by fighting for equal education rights, we're not just helping Asian Americans, but we are helping all the Americans. We are doing a service to our country, our society as a whole. Quoting my alumni, Dr. Martin Luther King, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. By finding this complaint, the Asian American Coalition for Education it's not just solely for the interests of Asian American college applicants in particular, or those of the Asian American community in general, but more importantly, for the constitutional rights of equal protection for all Americans. And for this righteous cause, we will fight on. Thanks to everybody for coming here and support us. And reporters can stay for individual interviews, and we wish everybody a very good rest of the day. Thank you very much.